Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. This is the very long form of the reaction. And today we'll be doing a history of Dying Light reaction. Now link to Game and Harry's channel down to his description. Let's get to work.
Hello, and welcome to the next installment in the Law & Order video series. In this one, we'll be looking at Techland's 2015 zombie epic, Dying Light. Having previously released Dead Island, Techland introduced free running into the mix, creating a more fast-paced and frantic experience, especially at night.
The nighttime was scary up in this game, like holy.
Now, 7 years later, with the release of Dying Light 2 only a few weeks away, this is the perfect time to jump back into the story of Dying Light.
Yeah.
That being said, there will be spoilers in this video,
2 years ago,
so please be aware of that. The global relief effort, known as the GRE, airdropped one of their agents, Kyle Crane, into the Turkish city of Harran, where a mysterious viral outbreak has occurred. This viral outbreak turns people into aggressive zombies. The reason behind Kyle's mission is that Kadir Suleiman, also known as Rice, has stolen a file which contains sensitive subject matter, using it to blackmail the GRE. There is a specific reason that Rice hates the GRE, but we will get to that later. Kyle, who is unaware of the contents of the file, completes his airdrop, but his parachute gets caught on an awning. After getting free, he is confronted by 3 goons from Rice's gang, one of which is his enforcer, Tahir. Kyle fights them off, but fires his gun, which alerts a large group of infected towards them, and Kyle is bitten and infected. Kyle is rescued by a runner called Jade Aldemir and her boyfriend Amir, who dies. Jade takes Kyle to a local sanctuary called the Tower, where he meets a young man called Rahim Aldemir, Jade's younger brother, who teaches Kyle the basics of parkour. During this, Kyle starts showing the first signs of infection and has a seizure. He fights through it and eventually reaches Rahim again, who tells him to go and see a Dr. Zira, who will give Kyle a shot of what's known as antizin, a suppressant which will help keep the virus at bay. After learning that Zira is researching a cure, Kyle speaks to Spike, the quartermaster, and he learns that Rice has been stealing all of the antizin airdrops the GRE is dropping into Harran, and Rice is using the antizin to extort survivors in the city. Spike says there is another antizin drop at sunset, but he needs Kyle to arm some traps to keep the tower's leader Brecken safe while he collects the antizin, because at night, well, it's pretty dangerous. Kyle sets the traps and goes to meet Brecken at the tower.
Wait, there's a pumpkin on the fall tower. Was that the Halloween update? Because I haven't played Dying Light I only played it in 2019. That's the only time I played it. That was a Halloween update, wasn't it? I didn't know.
Brecken, however, has been wounded after his group of runners were killed by infected. Brecken was attacked by Rice's thugs and has suffered a concussion, meaning that he cannot go and get the airdrop. Brecken mentions that if they fail, they will end up having to go to Rice and beg for the antizin. Kyle volunteers and makes his way to the drop. He radios into the GRE to tell them that he has intercepted the GRE's antizin drop. They tell him to do the unthinkable, to destroy it all, but to keep one for himself. They want Kyle to destroy it in order to force a meeting with Rice, but only to confirm his identity.
Oh, I didn't know that was to force a meeting with Rice. I thought they just didn't want Rice to know.
The greater good. Kyle reluctantly destroys the antizin and lies to Jade, telling her that the antizin is gone. As it's night, Kyle is chased by what are known as volatiles, enhanced infected that only venture out at nighttime. He manages to make it back to the tower. The group are debating who should go to Rice and ask for the antizin. Kyle offers to go as Rice doesn't know what he looks like or who he is. He makes it to Rice's compound. He meets Rice, confirming his identity, and then meets Kareem, Rice's quartermaster, and after making Kyle complete some fairly unethical tasks, Rice screws him over and wants him to do yet another task, obviously hoping that Kyle will die in the process, and he'll give him 2 crates of antizin instead of 1. After getting ambushed and completing this, Kyle approaches.
I hated that part. Because when I was achievement hunting on Dying Light, I hated trying to get to that safe zone. I just hated it.
Rice, who screws Kyle over yet again, only giving him 5 vials of antizin instead of the 2 crates he promised. Rice tells Kyle to deliver Jade to him as he wants her to fight in an arena for his gang's entertainment. He contacts the GRE to tell him this and that he's no longer going to work with Rice, but the GRE try to guilt trip him by telling him how important this file is to them. They order Kyle to deliver Jade to Rice, so Kyle, in response, cuts ties with the GRE. He tells Jade the bad news in regards to the antizin, but doesn't tell her what Rice has asked him to do. He goes back to the tower, and Brecken has realised that the GRE has halted all antizin drops. In need of antizin, Kyle and Jade raid the facility which Rice uses as a storage facility, but don't find any antizin. They do, however, find a lot of plastic explosives. A few hours later, Raheem has used the explosive they found to try and blow up a volatile nest, despite Kyle before warning him not to do it. It's gone horribly wrong.
This mission was sad. Spoilers. This was sad because when Raheem died after that, I got sad. I don't know why he went to the bomb. Oh. The plot of Dying Light if Raheem did not die quick.
Kyle meets Raheem, but he's badly injured, saying he's been cut. Kyle goes to blow up the nest and returns, but Raheem was actually bitten. He's turned and Kyle has to kill him.
Yep.
Back at the tower, Jade overhears a conversation between Kyle and Brecken and discovers her brother is dead. She runs off, but a large explosion is heard. Rice's thugs have kidnapped Dr. Zera. Kyle goes after him and finds him, but gets captured by Rice too, who stabs Zera in the leg and throws Kyle into a pit and makes him fight multiple infected. Kyle survives, and Rice reveals that he knows he is working for the GRE. Rice tells his men to publish and leak the file anyway. He reveals that the GRE are planning to weaponize the virus for profit, the plans of which are on the file. Rice orders his guards to kill Kyle, but he kills them first, and Kyle chops off Rice's hand.
Killing.
Oh, this was a really good scene.
However, in the skirmish, Zera is stabbed in the chest and dies. Before his death, he told Kyle that he has given Jade his research to deliver to a Dr. Camden in the Old Town part of the city. Crane then finds that the Defense Ministry has plans to firebomb the entire city. Their plan is to contain the outbreak and destroy it, and then eventually claim there are no survivors remaining. He hooks up with a group in Old Town and tries to bring attention to the world that there are survivors in Haran. He sets off a series of explosions in an apartment block which outline a sad face. However, a jet flies over the city and fires a missile at it, destroying the sign. It's obvious that they are blatantly aware that there are survivors in the city. Kyle, in one last act of desperation, climbs a radio tower and activates a signal, which allows people to find out that there are survivors in Haran.
Did he skip the Tahir fight? Was this before the Tahir fight? No, this was after, wasn't it? But he should have explained the Tahir fight, but you know what? I don't really care. He's doing
which puts a stop to the firebombing plan. The GRE gets in touch with Kyle again and order him to retrieve Zera's research on the cure. In exchange, they will extract him from Haran. Kyle then finds out that Rice has captured Jade. He finds her, but finds out that she's been bitten and is turning into an infected. Rice cruelly gives them one shot of antizin, forcing them to choose who they want to save. Jade chooses to save Kyle and she turns, and Kyle unfortunately has to kill her.
Yep.
Distraught and furious, Kyle fights with and kills Tahir.
That's what you deserve.
Yes. Then why don't you?
Because you're not the kind of loose end you leave untied.
Kyle now has the tissue samples Jade was delivering to Dr. Camden. He delivers them, and Dr. Camden says that he is close to a cure, but he needs the rest of Zera's data, which of course is in the hands of Rice. Yep. Kyle finds out that Rice has struck up a deal with the GRE. In exchange for extraction from Haran, he will give them the data. Kyle cannot let this happen, so he confronts Rice and eventually kills him. A GRE helicopter appears, but Kyle decides to defy the GRE and deliver the data to Camden, vowing to stay and help the remaining survivors in Haran. Camden says that he's certain a cure is within reach. The main portion of the game ends there.
The following.
Now, whether or not you believe that the main game's ending was final and that the following's ending was actually canon or not is a highly divisive topic, but the devs seem to have confirmed that it is actually canon. Now, I'll be covering my theory on why I think the following is canon in a separate video, but for now, let's look at what happened in the DLC. It's a bit bizarre, but please stick with me. Following on from the main events of Dying Light, after staying in Harran to help the survivors, Kyle and Lena, the medic from the tower, encounter a mortally injured survivor who tells them there are people out there who don't get infected, even if they are bitten, and refers to someone called the Mother. Dubious but desperate after Camden's researchers hit a brick wall, and down to their last few vials of antizin, Kyle goes to check it out and journeys to the countryside. Kyle quickly discovers that the survivors in the countryside have converted to a cult who call themselves the Children of the Sun, who themselves worship the figure referred to before as the Mother. Kyle aids the survivors around the countryside in order to get an in with the cult and learn more about this immunity. The high-ranking members of this cult, called the Faceless, eventually trust Kyle enough to disclose to him that it's nothing supernatural, but is in fact a special elixir that acts pretty much the same as antizin, but that it isn't a cure. The Faceless do reveal though that they are working on a cure themselves, and that if Kyle helps them, he can take it back to Harran with him. They put Kyle in touch with a man named Attila, who is a dying man working on a project for the Mother. Attila tells Kyle that the Mother is called Jasmine. She was the wife of a military colonel who had a hand in the experiments that caused the initial outbreak and was bitten and died. Attila passes a code to Kyle that the colonel gave him. Attila commits suicide hoping to invoke a Child of the Sun prophecy, but it fails. Kyle finds out that Rice's thugs are still operating and have travelled to the countryside in search of the cure themselves. They attempt to attack a nearby dam, which is the Mother's base, but when Kyle gets there, everyone is dead. Kyle discovers something shocking.
And the light brought me back. You see, leaving the
Sentient
fumes is one
Voltron.
thing, but drinking the liquid is something else entirely.
The Mother removes her mask and she is a volatile. However, she is completely sentient, aware and passive in the day, but violent and feral when night comes. The Mother reveals to Kyle that the military operation and experiments were located in the dam, and that it was the location of the substance or their elixir. This substance, however, was nowhere near a cure. In fact, it turns people into sentient volatiles instead. The Mother states that the only way forward now is to summon the God of the Sun. Psst, she means a nuke and not an actual sun god.
Yeah.
Now this is where Kyle has a choice to either do what the Mother says, using Attila's code to launch the nuke, which is the military failsafe in case the virus got out, killing everyone in Harran, survivors and infected, and eradicating the virus. Or to defy the Mother. If Kyle chooses to defy her, she will force Kyle to drink the elixir. He fights her and kills her. He grabs the rest of the vials and leaves the dam. He starts suffering blackouts and entering an area outside of the city with no infected. Kyle realizes that he's turned into a volatile. He sees a family playing in the park and lets out a scream. Kyle Crane is gone.
Yep.
Now that's the end of the following, but for now let's focus on the finer aspects of the story, starting with Rice. Kadir Suleiman, or Rice, was a colonel in the military who, when the outbreak kicked off, was...
I'll kick your ass later. See you guys. Bye. And thank you for gaming with Harry for this. Love you, and I'll see you again with another reaction, hopefully. Bye-bye.